Some of you may have found the footage from the end of our last video familiar. For those of you that didn't, allow me to explain. This is an event at Union Waypoint in the Temple of Lyssa, and it has become a popular hangout for farmers. So why on earth did I put this footage to a video about Magic Find? The reason is twofold. First, I thought it was a great example that there are some players out there that will do anything to increase their gold income, even if what they are doing is borderline exploitation. Secondly, I was curious as to how many other players didn't agree with this practice, and wanted some footage to go along with my post on the Guild Wars 2 forums. What originally brought this exploit to my attention started innocently enough. The guild decided we should do a temple run in ore. I'm always down for this, so we started with Balthasar. Seeing as none of the events were past the first quest in the chain, this took us about an hour and a damn near miss in both the escort and the final kill. But hey, that just makes victory all the sweeter. So once Balthasar was down, we called for the rest of the zone to follow us to the next statue, Lyssa. As soon as we arrived, I do the same thing I always do when starting an event in the zone. I announced what the guild was doing and asked if anyone in the area would like to join in. Instead of the usual responses of, okay, nobody does that, or what is that, I instead got, no, go somewhere else, fuck off, and please don't, we're farming. This got me scratching my head a bit. I thought the mobs in the temple were much better to farm when it was clear. Nevertheless, we headed up to Union Waypoint to get started, and as soon as we got there, I knew exactly what was going on. Having soloed this event in the past, I was no stranger to the speed of the spawns during this event and the loot they brought, and it had crossed my mind to do what the players before me were now doing, deliberately not finish the event to farm the mobs for loot. I dismissed the idea as it would be an obvious exploit of the system. Apparently the players here thought otherwise. Well, we came to clear the statues, so we completed the event. The amount of abuse we got thrown at us for doing so was pretty amazing, and I'll honestly admit it pissed me off. So the next evening I headed back to the statue, this time remembering to record, to vent my frustrations on the farmers that had caused it. I soon found out, thanks to scaling and the fact that for farmers these guys are pretty organised, pulling back as soon as they realised the walls were under attack, I wasn't going to be able to do it alone. So I called in 2 more guildies and we finished the event again. After the abuse had died down and the farmers had moved on to another server, I started to reflect on my actions. They'd been out of spite, so I guessed what I'd done pretty much amounted to griefing. It's not that I felt bad about doing it, hell, I was pretty pleased with myself, but I wondered what the rest of the community would think of my actions. I believed these players were quite clearly exploiting the system, but they didn't. One even threatened to send a screenshot of me attacking the walls to ArenaNet. Once I recovered from bursting into laughter, I asked if they could, and then saved me the trouble of doing it myself. Regardless, since I'm always curious as to what the rest of the community thinks, I posted about it in the bugs section under the title, A Very Popular Exploit, left a link to the footage and then went to bed. In the morning I logged back into the forums to see if I'd had any response, but I couldn't find my post anywhere. Then I noticed I had a personal message. This is what it said. A moderator has moved a message you posted to the forum, Exploits Reports Archive. Oh dear ArenaNet, do you know what you just did? You gave me a license to troll. Any reservations I had about acting out against this flew right out the window. My guild and I now regularly clear this event and the statue, thus preventing it from reactivating to stop players from exploiting it. So if you're one of these farmers, I can quite safely say you are wasting your time by guesting to Henge of Denravi. However, since the trading post is across all servers, stopping the farmers on just my server isn't going to do a great deal. So I ask you, my viewers and fellow Guild Wars 2 players, not to stand for this and keep clearing the event and the statue. The whole chain and boss can be done with 5 to 10 players and nets at least 1 gold item with the possibility of more from the chest itself. And since I'm such a great guy, or troll depending on how you look at it, I'm going to show you exactly how to get it done. First up, it's best to take the farmers by surprise. I've almost soloed all the walls down, last wall 20% before the farmers realised what was going on. If you have any less than 10 players, I suggest this method. 5 is easily enough though. First up, you need to clear the static ads from the wall, so approach from the east side and get the mob's attention with a few attacks. Next, pull them around, attacking as you go, pick up as many as you can, and then bring them to the Zerg of farmers. You'll quickly lose any threat you had as the AoE will peel them all off you. Now jump around the back and get started on the walls. Now when attacking the walls, always attack a wall with another wall to either side of it, as their hitbox is huge, and attacking the centre of one with a melee weapon or AoE will hit all 3. If you see any risen servants, focus on them as soon as possible, as they will quickly repair the wall. Kill enough and they'll eventually try and repair the wall near the Zerg and no longer be a problem. Should you get too many ads or a veteran ad, simply run around to the Zerg with it while grabbing as many mobs along the way as you can. Also, try and spread your damage across the walls, because the Zerg isn't going to notice damage to the walls, but they'll most likely notice a wall going down. The last few walls will be the most difficult, as the Zerg will have most likely pulled back at this stage. Because of this, it's best to try and get the walls closest to the Zerg first. If you do find yourself with a horde of Risen after you, simply kite them around while you keep attacking the walls, only stopping to deal with any Risen servants that spawn promptly. There's quite a gap between the spawns of Risen servants, so as long as you take care of them quickly, they're not going to be a problem. Execute this correctly and the Zerg will only be able to watch in despair as you bring their exploiting ways to an end. Once this event is complete, all you have to do is clear the other two events to the southwest and southeast, and Lyssa will appear. For the western event, the first thing you're going to have to do is clear out the majority of the Risen in the area. Next, start grabbing the charged cores from the pylons and throw them at the golems to reactivate them. The golems will then start collecting the energy from the pylons and throw it into the central thingy there that will complete the event. Once you've got enough golems up and you have the majority of the mobs under control, you can start running these cores manually from the pylons to the centre yourself to speed up the event's progress. Be advised, the undead all spawn from the same area, so you can quite easily intercept them before they reach the platform and start interfering with the golems. The sparks, however, will need to be killed regularly, but they're nowhere near as much of a threat as the undead are. For the eastern event, the first thing you'll have to do is also clear out all the Risen that are around the NPCs. Next, if you can, get someone to get on the steps that you use to get up there and stop any further spawning Risen from getting in the way. Get the other players to resurrect the NPCs. Once this is done, line up on the steps and stop any undead from passing you. If they do, they'll interfere with the NPCs and slow down the timer. As long as you intercept them on the steps, they're not going to be any problem and the timer should go up to full without a hitch. Once all three events are cleared, the shield in the centre comes down and it's time to fight Lyssa herself. Now this is actually a very involved fight, as there are quite a few things that can go wrong and cause this event to fail. So here's a quick, in-depth guide on the things to look out for and the ways to most efficiently do it. First up, if there are any ads on the platform, clear them before fighting Lyssa. The same goes during the fight. If any ads spawn, you should be focusing on those instead of fighting Lyssa. They need to be cleared up or they can overwhelm your party. The only exception to this is in the really high-scale versions of this event, sometimes a champion unit will spawn. This is better tanked and AoE down instead of focused on, but here's the only exception to the rule. Next, there are two Risen catapults that continuously fire onto the platform as you're fighting. These need to be taken down. They are very weak and can be easily taken down by a single ranged opponent. Just be careful not to accidentally fall down or it's a long walk back up to Lyssa. Once they're down, get back into the fight. It is imperative throughout the fight that you dodge the red circles that Lyssa leaves on the ground. If you stand on these, you'll be teleported out of the arena. Worse than that, you leave a clone of yourself behind. This clone, while very low on health, can deal pretty decent damage and needs to be dealt with as soon as possible. Not only does this waste time, which is crucial within this fight, but Lyssa may chase you off the platform, and it's pointless to go after her because as soon as enough people are around her, she teleports right back into the center again. When the NPC shouts not to look at Lyssa, it is imperative that you don't. If you're facing her direction, you will be permanently dazed and not be able to do a thing. You need to be clearing up ads as quickly as possible during this phase, and the best way to do so without being stunned is to simply position yourself between the ad you're attacking and Lyssa herself. That way you are always facing away from her and you won't be dazed at all. Now I mentioned it's imperative you clear ads as soon as possible during this fight to stop your group from being overrun. However, there's a particular ad that needs specific mention. The corrupted illusions that look like big purple see-through gorillas. These things hit like a truck and have an AoE as well. They can quickly wipe the group if left unchecked. If one of these is up, everyone should drop what they're doing and focus it down as soon as possible. This is particularly important during the scaled up events where you will need the majority of the group to bring these down before they bring the group itself down. Lastly, and most importantly, keep an eye on the map. If an event spawns, drop what you're doing and run for it. If the event fails, and it quickly will without support, Lyssa will reset. This is especially true with the eastern one. Anything short of swiftness to get over there the second it begins will result in failure. Don't worry about missing out on loot. As long as you've hit Lyssa once, you'll still get the full reward. However, if you let any of these events fail, Lyssa's health will reset and you'll have to start all over again. I'll quickly go over these events as you may find yourself short on manpower, since most players will tunnel vision on Lyssa and ignore any of your pleas for help. I'll start with the north. There are two possible defense events to the north. One is very similar to the one with the farmers, where you have to take down the walls while killing the Risen servants to prevent them from being built. If all 6 walls are built, it will fail, so make sure you focus on the servants and the walls and just keep fighting until the Risen meter falls down to 0 and you will succeed. The other event that spawns here is a single champion lich that will periodically walk up and instantly build a wall. You can hold this off with one player if you're careful, two quite handily, simply by not focusing on killing the lich, but simply destroying the walls as he spawns them. You won't ever complete the event, but you will stop it from failing, and as long as you do so while Lyssa is destroyed, you will have done your job. Two events I've seen on the western side as well. One is very similar to capturing it, where you simply have to defend against waves of undead attacking the machine. Clear the ones that are on the platform and then go to the same point I mentioned before, and you'll be able to intercept all of the undead. Just be wary of the couple of sparks that spawn behind you and try and deal with them. Also note that you can resurrect the golems in the same way and use them to defend. The other event that can spawn there is an inquest group will appear and try and destroy the generator. When this one appears, you need to focus on the engineers. The engineers will quickly run to the generator and start sapping health directly from it. As long as you kill these first and then focus on the other inquest later, you shouldn't have any problems clearing this event. Following this event, it makes sense that there's probably two defensive events on the eastern side as well. However, I've only ever seen one of these, and it's pretty much the same as taking it. Stop the undead from getting up the ramp and attacking the cannon. As always, make sure you do not attack the undead while standing on the cannon, or their swings will hit the cannon as well and result in failure. Make sure you intercept them on the steps and keep them there away from the cannon, and you shouldn't have any problems, so long as you got here quick enough. I can't stress how quickly you have to get to this event after it spawns to prevent it from failing. If you want to be really sure this event won't fail, you can leave someone here to guard it, but believe me, it's a boring and tedious job. Well, I think that just about wraps up that encounter. So that's it again. A way you can troll in Guild Wars 2 and be productive to your community at the same time. Who'd have thought? Thanks for watching, guys, and as always, please leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Ah, and to the farmers I've caused grief, please leave a comment as well. Your tears sustain me. Lastly, I've had players posting I'm an elitist jerk who only wants to play with people running metagame builds because I don't want to run with Magic Find builds. I've been quick to respond by saying I'm happy to run with non-meta builds as a player's preferred playstyle is up to them. Haha, they say, but I'm built for Magic Find and that's my playstyle. Well, all I have to say to that is bullshit. Well, that frog won't know what hit him.